of the day is Rebecca Kiessling, and Rebecca, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Maybe if you could just start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and about your story.
Okay. Well, I was adopted, and I learned at 18 that I was conceived when my birth mother was abducted by a serial rapist. And she wanted to meet me. We had a beautiful reunion, but when I asked her about abortion, she told me she went to two back alley abortionists, and I was almost aborted. The fact that it was illegal caused her to back out. And of course I struggled with all of that information. I went on to become a family law attorney, and I've litigated numerous high-profile cases defending human life. And now I am a homeschool mother of 5 and a pro-life speaker.
And talk about, I know a lot of people who are pro-life, they will say except in cases of rape, and maybe if you could talk about that and how difficult that is for you to hear.
Mm-hmm. Well, I understand that they want to be people of compassion, and they think that the compassionate position to take is to make that exception. But it's based upon 3 fallacies, and the first is that most rape victims would want an abortion, and that's not true. It's only about 15 to 25%, which is half the rate of your average crisis pregnancy, which I think is very telling. And they think that she would be better off with an abortion, and that's not true. The ones who have the child express that there's something very healing of having something beautiful come up, something really awful, and the ones who abort say that it was far more difficult to overcome the abortion than it was the rape. But the third fallacy is that that child just isn't worth it, isn't worth having to put her through that. And I hope that my story and other stories like mine can help to dispel that myth. I explain to people that whenever they say they're pro-choice or when they make the exception for rape, that what it's really saying to someone like me is, I think that your mother should have been able to abort you. Which is like saying, if I had my way, you'd be dead right now. Because that's the reality with which I live. And I know people say, well, I'm not saying I think she should have aborted you. I'm just saying I think it should have been her choice. But her choice was to abort me. And she did not choose life for me. She chose abortion. But pro-life advocates chose life for me. And they're my heroes. That's why I'm sitting here with you today.
Talk about, I know you travel around the country and you speak to many different groups, but maybe some of people's responses to you and even to younger people that hear your story.
Oh, I just got an email from a young woman, a high school student, who wasn't sure how she felt about the rape exception, so did a little Google search and found my story and sent me the most amazing email. She said she never had anybody shoot up to her most admired list so fast. Of course, I had to read that to my husband. But I get a great response. I find that it's actually very easy to change people's minds about this issue. Just most people have never thought about it, and they've never put a face to this issue. There's also a lot of young people who are struggling, like I did, with issues of value, identity, and purpose. And I really think that my message can help speak to them so that they can understand their worth. You know, like really, you don't have to become a lawyer or a professional speaker or anything like that, or even a mom or wife to be worth something. Yeah. But that you have an infinite price that was paid for your life. And God thought I was pretty valuable. And I send that message to young people that I hope that they know their own worth too.
Do you find when you go out and speak to many different places and groups, do you feel like the culture is changing a little bit? Do you feel like people are starting to open up more to the pro-life message?
Mm-hmm. I've seen polls that show that more and more people are becoming 100% pro-life. It's moved significantly, the number of people who don't make the rape exception. So I think we really are making progress. But at the same time, I think that the other side is becoming more and more brazen. And I do have some awful responses too. There's a Feminists for Life poster of me that says, "Did I deserve the death penalty?" And when I speak on university campuses, they use that to promote the event. And they write yes underneath it. And there's people who say at universities things like, well, if your mother had been aborted, you wouldn't be here today, and you wouldn't know the difference anyway, so what does it matter? And they'll say, oh, so what you're saying is that if abortion had been legal, you wouldn't be here today. Well, you know, if your birth mother hadn't been raped, you wouldn't be here today either. So does that mean that you're pro-rape? I mean, they actually say that to me. And I try to explain things to them, that there's a huge moral difference, because my life would have been ended because I would have been killed. Yeah. And that's a huge moral difference. But it's amazing that I feel like the other side is just getting nastier and nastier with their rhetoric, and things that people will point out to me on the internet, things that people post in response to my story. You know, they talk about how much they care about women. Yeah. Well, I'm a woman, and they couldn't care less about me. You know, what good is my right to anything if I don't have my right to life? Yeah.
Maybe if people want to find out more about your ministry, and you know, maybe want to invite you to one of their groups, how would they do that? How would they go about doing that?
Well, I have a website, which is www.RebeccaKiessling.com. But if you don't have to remember how to spell my name, because people are always like, is it I-E-E-I, one S, two S? If you Google pro-life speaker, my site is the first one to come up.
Okay.
Or if you Google conceived in rape, my site is the first one to come up. And my contact information is there. There's videos of me speaking that are posted there. And also I have a page dedicated to other people who were conceived in rape and incest, with their stories and their videos of them speaking, and women who are rape survivors who became pregnant out of rape. And some of them lost their baby due to a miscarriage. Some regret aborting their baby. Some are parenting that child, and some placed their child for adoption. And they're all life-affirming stories.
Right. Well, we appreciate you coming on this. This is the day, and for sharing your story with us, Rebecca.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.